pointer. Thanks everyone for hanging on through the breaks. It wouldn't be a Twitch stream.
Oh, did she trip? Somebody wants to know. Discover Games. Did we actually roll for?
Yeah, we did. She rolled a 13. She needed a 12 or under, so she did in fact trip. By the way,
she backed up, tripped over the thing, landed into the pine needle. She's currently trying to like blow her hair out of her face, and we'll see what happens.
Rah ground. That's what she said, because she's a cheerleader. That was a terrible joke. Okay.
Before we exploded, did you guys get to hear about the stats? I was talking about stats.
I think that's when it froze.
All right. So all characters have a movement value. Characters have a combat value, and that represents both melee and ranged. All characters have an awareness value. That's what they use to investigate, to notice things around them. It's actually the range at which you can target something with a ranged weapon. So a gun itself doesn't have a range. It's based on the awareness of the user. Characters all have a fright value, and that's used to determine how much terror they can handle before they go insane. So Seth has a 4 fright value. So when he gets to 5 fright or more, he's getting -2 to his actions for every fright point over 4. When he hits double his fright value, so 8, that's when he loses it, falls to the ground, curls up in the fetal position. See you later, Seth. He's done for.
Classic Seth.
And then characters have a... That's not classic Seth. He's amazing.
Can someone give me an exclamation mark Seth in chat? Exclamation mark Seth, please.
All characters have a luck value, and this is a number of rerolls that they have during the game, and they are super beneficial. Now, kids have a better luck value, so they're usually a 2, and adults are usually a 1. And that's something else that's really important. We have teen characters and we have adult characters. And right now, Ranger Sandy is the adult character, and all the other characters who are here are our 18-year-olds, our teens for the game. And there are some rules and things that will play off of that.
Kosu, you're a champion. I didn't start my chat bot after I restarted my computer. Hold on. Matt, stall. Quick, say something funny. Quick.
So the characters that we have, all the characters that are in the game, the space set, they are derived and representative of the tropes that you're going to see in classic horror films, comics. We have Ranger Sandy, who's the plucky kind of police officer. She's here to investigate. She's seen some stuff in her day, but she's willing to sacrifice herself to help the kids. We have Seth, who is the smart, attractive nerd. He's not going to be doing much physically on the table, but he's here to investigate, correct the other characters when they're not right, and shine his flashlight to help out because he's part of the AV club. We have Alice Grace, who's our cheerleader. She does the best handstands, the best backflips. She's all about encouraging. She gets free encourages, and she has her megaphone to help her out. Who else do we have with us today? Out here,
Denise. We got the pro Denise.
She's a bad girl, so she has the debutante ability, which will allow her to.
She's a bad girl, Denise.
She's mean. So with her debutante ability, if she's in base to base with the killer, she can actually switch places with the male character, and she slips out of danger. And she also has Daddy's phone, so she's able to call in some supporting characters. She's currently our most... Well, if we're going to talk later this week, do a sit and talk, she's had some rules changes. Moya's been doing some play testing with his crew. We've been playing with her a lot, so she's going to be kind of changing it up. So we're playing with her playtest version now, but you'll get to see the final version of her very soon. And who's our last one? Is that everybody?
You got everyone. Ranger, cool. Sandy, Seth, Denise, and Alice. We're on turn 3, right? That was the start of turn 3 right there. That was 1. Ranger Sandy is going to move in 8.
He's moving these larger numbers right now because when a character activates, if you weren't here earlier, they get 2 quick actions, or they can take a quick action and a long action.
That's right.
Basic movement is a quick action. So most characters are a 4. Seth is unhealthy, and he's a 3. And Alice Grace is super agile, and she's a 5, so he's choosing to use both of his quick actions to do a double move. If your character has terror and they're panic while they're hurrying, there is an opportunity for them to trip, which makes them more susceptible to the killer. It makes it more difficult for them to take other actions.
I did jump scare 2 on her, so I passed through area terrain, so I needed to roll my jump scare. And
so
jump scare is
some sort of eerie sounds coming through there. So character's going to start trying to back away in a hurry. They're going to make an awareness test or trip.
There's something spooky right there, man.
Something. It's probably just a gopher. So making a test, you're rolling a d20 and looking for a value equal to or less than that skill value. So for her awareness is a
12.
12, so she would need a 12 or less on a d20.
And he rolled a 19.
Boom! So both our characters have tripped and fallen over the same giant root.
Something real spooky, man. Denise is gonna roll her eyes and just go a different direction.
She's gonna go find Pat on her own.
She rolled a 3 on her jump scare.
So flickering lights. Again, if Seth would be useful and use his flashlight.
He doesn't need to. He's saving his battery. Flickering lights. Also, he just can't be useful. That's like a key element of who Seth is, I feel like.
It's the problem with you playing him and not me.
All right, so that's all the characters moved. You can select them in any order. I just kind of did what was there. And now we are done with turn 3.
All right, so we're going to go back up to the fright phase.
We're on
turn 4. So on a 4 or better, fright tokens are going to start going. And that brings up an interesting kind of point for this game. So we'll start with fright tokens that are closest to characters.
It's going to be this one in the house.
Oh, man. Here we go.
It's a 3.
Just some sort of a creepy sound. Token is removed. Turns out to be nothing.
Ooh, there's only one left. I wonder if he's the killer. It is
a
2.
All right, so when there is only one left, when we roll, it becomes the killer.
And because when it becomes the killer, there's no more fright tokens. So you put 1 in the center of B and C.
So if we were choosing to play this without the optional killer, this is when you and your friends would roll up and create the killer for this scenario. So we're choosing to use the one that comes with the scenario, the Beast of Northwood. But if we were going to conjure it, we would roll up its MO, which is sort of how it moves and stalks the characters. Then we would roll its visage, so how it looks, how it appears, and how it moves about the plot, the terrain, and that gives it its wounds, its attacks, any special rules, what happens when you drive it off, and then we would give it 2 random traits. And our guy, the Beast of Northwood, he is
stalking and mutilated, or his traits.
Yeah, so he's stalking, so he's going to kind of be coming out from terrain, following behind characters. He's mutilated, so he's a tough guy, or it's a tough thing that's been lurking out in the woods. It's got horrible wounds and covered in thick scars, and it's menacing and has dead eyes. So if our characters wanted to try and engage the Beast of Northwood in melee, they would have to make an awareness test, or they are not going to be up for that challenge. And it's dead eyes. Anybody who activates within line of sight of it gains a point of terror, as it just looks right through you.
And characters in this game do have 180-degree arc line of sight. So if it's behind them, they aren't affected by those things. So he is placed, and then using his MO, he moves. So an MO of stalking. What's he do?
He is going to be heading towards the character. Sorry, I keep cutting out. Can you hear me, Connor?
I can.
Okay, sorry. That was on my end. So he is stalking. So he's going to move towards the character that is the farthest from board section A. So whoever's kind of lurking and falling behind, that's who he's going to choose to go after.
The farthest from A.
Yes. The center of board section A.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be. It's gonna be these two over here.
All right. And if it's a tie, then we get to choose. So Connor, you can choose who it is that the beast is going to mangle.
Ooh. Probably Ranger Sandy.
Oh, poor Ranger Sandy. All right, so he's going to move D10 inches towards her.
Oh, wait. Yeah, he's way over here.
And he would
6.
also add an additional inch for every point of terror on his target.
She does not have any terror currently.
Yet.
He is within 180 degrees of Seth's line of sight, so he will gain a point of terror. Seth will gain a point of terror.
So Seth will gain it when he activates.
Oh, sorry.
Did he make it into?
How's it going, man? No, he did not make it. He is very far away.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so
he's like,
said, "Oh, I see where he is."
Yeah, he's like 14 inches from.
All right, so he's heading out. He busts out of the trees, smashes some limbs out of the way, lets out a guttural howl, and he's heading down towards poor old Ranger Sandy. But
his arch nemesis, Ranger Sandy.
Yeah, she's wounded him before with her service revolver.
And it is noted we're still in the fright phase. So in the fright phase, if you spawn the killer, you place and you move him. And now we move to the killer phase.
Yes. So now the killer is going to start by using his MO, which is stalking. We know that he's going to be choosing the character that is the farthest from board section A, which is kind of where our camp was and where we started. And that's Ranger Sandy. It was a tie, so we get to decide. So he's going to move a D10 inches towards her. And if the character that they're targeting has any terror points on them, they add an inch to the roll. And if the character has tripped, they get to add an additional 2.
Oh, so he runs right past Denise. He's just
shoulders are out of the way. Yeah, you see Ranger Sandy's scent is on the wind. He knows her from before. He's got a score to settle.
Yeah, he's a man on a mission. He wants to. I mean, really, she's the only armed one, so it's probably smart to take her out.
He knows the scent of gun oil.
So he doesn't get there. Do either of his traits affect it outside of combat? His traits are kind of like his actions or his fighting.
So he has his special actions is that because he's mutilated and has this kind of immunity to pain and this layer of scarring, he takes 2 less injuries to a minimum of 1. So he's very tough.
It's hard to kill. So that's going to be the end of his phase.
All right, so we go to the character phase, and like Connor had said before, each time you get to choose the order that you want. So you can think about their abilities, think about their location on the table, and what kind of interactions that you want to create. You can also, as players, decide how you want to interact with each other. So do you want to play your 4 characters cooperatively? Or is this the point in the plot where they're starting to look out for number 1 and they're going to start throwing each other under the bus? Denise going to start debutanting around and throwing Seth into the monster so she can get out? It's
That's what I'm thinking.
You guys want to play.
So I'm thinking this guy, he's coming out for blood. He's running straight towards Ranger Sandy. Brushes past Denise.
Hey, see what?
Oh, what's up, Chris?
Chris, Seth is living life. He went camping with all the girls, so it's just Seth and the ladies out at the lakefront campsite. But unfortunately, Pat wandered off and got lost, and he's leading the charge for the AV club.
He's not leading the charge. He is literally he's the slowest guy. He's worthless. Not as worthless as Denise, though, because Denise This killer runs right past her, knocks her.
Hey, Hoover.
You know what she does? She just says, nope, and she's getting out. She's going, man. She's running the other direction. Denise has no qualms about letting someone else die.
Absolutely not.
She's fumbling for her phone, her daddy's phone. She's not quite there yet, but she's definitely thinking about it, you know. So she's moving too. She does have a terror point, so I would have to see if she trips since she moved both movement. She does not
So
trip.
just on a 1. It would be a 1.
Right. Seth is going to see it as well. Runs past him. It is within his field of view, right? So he'll gain a terror point when he activates.
So as the Beast of Northwood's running by, it turns its head quickly and stares into Seth's soul, turning it into ice.
Pushes
he gains
it.
the point of terror.
Running. And then Seth is going to shine his flashlight. He's going to say,
As you do.
what was that? So I'm going to get a little light token here.
So Seth's item that he starts with is a flashlight. It has a battery of 2, and it allows him to place a light token.
Within 6 inches.
Yeah.
So he's going to shine it right in front of the killer. We're just
Not bad. I'm glad you're excited. We're
gonna
excited to share it with you.
Gonna sneak it right under this tree. He's doing it right there. So he's gonna shine his flashlight for his first turn, and then say, "Denise, come back," because he has a crush on Denise. So he's running away while shining his flashlight. Got the next 2. So both of these characters over here tripped, which means that for their first action, they need to stand up. Since they are, is it within 2 or 4 of a fright token, Matt? Do you get
What was that?
If you activate within the range of a fright token.
4 inches.
So they're both activating within range of that fright token. So they both get 2, or both get 1 terror point. Everyone's at 1 terror.
Connor, Ben just said he sent you a message real quick. And Furry, he's definitely got a 6-cell mag light going on.
Sorry guys, 1 moment.
So the light tokens become a really interesting, sort of like a safety zone on the table. When a character moves fully into a light token, they immediately remove a point of terror. If they were to take the deep breath action, they would be able to remove more terror than normal or more wounds than normal. And they also can't be targeted by the killer while they're in the light. But unfortunately, in tropey fashion, they tend to flicker. They're unreliable. And sometimes at the moment when you need them most, they shut off and then your throat's getting ripped out. Because that's just how it is.
Just, you know, just what happens. As far as length, I think Seth is rocking. That looks like a 10-inch flashlight. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's come prepared. He's a Weeblo.
Just a mag light. Okay, so they both stood up. They both got their tower. 1 second.
We played a scenario earlier, not on camera, when we were just playing it for some funsies. One of the scenarios, there's a truck set up down on that road in the bottom corner, and to represent its headlights, there's a light token in front of it, and the characters had all gotten into it except for Seth, so he was trucking towards this truck trying to get out. Got into the light because he's being chased down by the killer. Thought he was safe. Unfortunately, a fright token, or not a fright token, a jump scare caused them to flicker. They turned off, and the killer was on him and killed him in front of everybody sitting inside the car before they could make their escape.
And
the light tokens are, they're a blessing. Sometimes they're a curse.
All right. Turn 4. They both activated. That's their first turn. She's going to move her 5.
This is our agile character, so she's got a 5-inch move.
Quick.
She's
And
no joke.
because I got there on my second movement, I can take like a quick action, a desperate action, but it's at a heavy modifier. For combat, it's -5 to whatever you're going for. For this case, which is an investigation, it's -10 of your awareness. So her awareness is only a 13, and -10 means it is at a 3. So if I roll a 3 or under, then perhaps I've found Pat's remains. Right? Is that right?
Yep. And a desperate action, if you get into melee, you can make an attack, and that would actually also be at -10. The desperate action is, well, desperate. No, get out of here. Seth uses his reroll to reroll that die.
No, it's a 1.
Nice.
Okay, so she gets there. Now we have to see what remains, right? So for this specific scenario, there's
we roll to see. Is this Pat? Is it not Pat?
She found a jumble of bloody clothes buried under twigs and dirt. And as she pulls back the cover, she finds Pat alive. It's a 9. Right?
Yeah, so 9. You find Pat alive.
Yes.
Unconscious. Just a blow to the side of the head. The Beast of Northwood hadn't had an opportunity to dig in for dinner as we came and disrupted the show. So, man, Pat's alive.
Pat is all right. So I don't have a Pat mini. I'm gonna use a Max mini. Maybe Pat. This is Pat. Wow,
Max.
This is some crazy lucky rolls that I just did.
That was amazing. A 1 on a desperate action, and you
9.
reach out, and there she is. Crazy. That's awesome.
Wow. Have we ever found Pat alive?
No. Nope. I think we've played this, 8 or 9 times, not on camera, and we've never found her alive.
This is the first time Pat's alive.
So the way the game mechanic for this works is that for each token that you investigate, if you don't find Pat, then the next time you roll, you add 1 to the die roll for the search. And on a value of 10, if you were to get a 10, it would be you find what's left of Pat. All characters gain a terror and add a fright token to the middle of board section A.
So I had
luckily we found her.
I had to roll a 3 or under to investigate, and then I had a 10% chance of finding her there. I'm not good at math, but someone else can do those. This was extremely lucky. I think we're going to win this pretty easly. We have a lot of turns.
Yeah, we do. We got a lot of time to get out of here.
This is a really happy story. So
this time,
okay. For now. All right, Ranger Sandy.
See what happens to Ranger Sandy, though.
Ranger Sandy, she's going to turn and fire, man. She's going from the hip right now.
And that's what she does.
Yeah.
So this is her first action, right? She hasn't activated yet?
No, she stood up. She stood up and got a terror point. And now she's turning and firing.
So if you wanted to, using a regular ranged or melee attack is your long action. So you can either take a quick and a long, or 2 quicks in a turn. Because she had to stand up, she used her quick action. There is a concentrate action that allows you to gain a bonus to the next thing that you would do. So if she had been standing, she could have basically taken aim and had a better chance to shoot.
But she was not standing, so she's just going for it. She's pulling the trigger and got a 20. Oh.
Womp, womp, womp.
She's using her
not
luck.
only
she's gonna no. She's
okay.
So
all right.
What he was gonna say is, if she had found this item, because you can search around and find items, she would have lost it. But because it's so bad, I'm gonna use her 1 luck point and give myself a reroll. Each character has a certain amount of luck per game. She has 1, and this is it right here. Here we go. It's a 15, so it's not any better. Nothing happens.
If she had to trip, she would have been able to aim, and she probably would have.
She would have hit it, yeah. And that's the last movement. Everyone else had gone.
All right, so we're gonna go back up to the top of the fright phase. We're on turn What
Five.
now, Connor?
We're on 5
Turn
now.
5. So on a 3 or better, the fright tokens are activate, and then on turn 6 or later in the game, they always just activate. There's no longer tensions reached its climax. It's on out here in the campsite.
I rolled a 9. So they for sure activate.
That's exactly right, Furry. Come and get some of this. You've tried it before and failed. Oh man, where's my gun? She must have dropped it when she tripped. She's fumbling through the pine needles,
Yeah.
the wet leaves to get her gun.
So they activate. So this is, there's only one. Oh, no, there is another one over there. So the first one is going to be it's a 1, so it goes away.
Yep. Just
Next
the noise, some wind in the trees.
That one over here. Play it where it lies. It's a 7.
So it's gonna move. Something else in the woods is
6 inches
moving
towards
6 inches towards the closest character.
Denise. Okay. And let's see here. We don't generate new ones. We don't place the killer, so now we're onto the killer phase.
Oh man.
This is a clutch light by Seth, I have to say. Because this killer is not mundane, right? You can't move through it.
No, he can't. He hates the light.
Yep. So he's moving D10 towards Ranger Sandy.
She has some terror on her now, though.
Yep, so he moves 2 plus 1.
Oh, man.
I think he's going to move this way.
And he does ignore difficult terrain. Most of the killers ignore difficult terrain. They're not slowed down by bushes and fences and things like that.
Okay, and so since he can't get in there, he can't attack. We are done with the killer phase, and we are back to character phase of round 5. What are my movement rules now that I've found Pat?
So, because you found her alive and she doesn't have a twisted ankle or anything like that, we're good to go.
She can
So
just
one
haul.
of the one of the ways that you can find Pat is that she may have fallen and she's twisted her ankle, and all characters reduce their movement value by 1 to represent her hobbling and them trying to keep up with her. But luckily we found her fine. She just a little lump on the head. She's good to go. So now our characters are trying to get out of here on either side of table section A.
Moya is correct. At the end of the killer phase, that light flickers off. You can't see it, but there's an X that gets off on that side.
It's on.
All right. We'll move Alice over here. A little bit hard to see on the camera. Alice is moving 10. We're rolling to see if she trips on a 1. Does not. Pat is moving 8. Rolling to see if Pat trips. Nope, no terror. Ranger Sandy is also going to move 8, but must roll for a jump scare.
And Pat in this scenario is just for fun. Once you find Pat, Pat's just a thing.
10 on
A story element.
10 on the jump scare table.
Ugh, that's not good.
No, it is not.
So, screams in the distance. Move all fright tokens D10 inches towards this character.
9.
So there's howls and hoots from off in the distance, and things start rampaging through the woods.
There's only 1. Okay. And I need to see if she trips on a 1. She does not. As much as I hate to do it, Seth is going to be clutch again. Seth is going to shine his light.
Seth is clutch by nature.
Seth is not clutch. Seth has gotten extremely lucky this round. His killer is also...
Actually,
Well, actually, there's no such thing as luck. There's just calculated decisions. So he shines his light right there. And then he's going to move. Oh, he gets a point of terror since he activated within that terror token. The fright token.
Boy, that is... Yes. Bob from Twin Peaks.
He's going to move 3 and roll for his jump scare. It is an 8.
Gains a terror point. Strange shadows in those woods nearby. He also gains a terror for activating near that fright token.
Yeah, I got that one. He was looking at the killer.
He wasn't?
He was, so that's another. So
Okay.
He's got 4 now. And Denise is going to move. She's going to move 4 and then 2 to get to the other side of this bush. And she'll roll on her jump scare.
So she moved, just so you are aware, she moved 4 up to the edge of that bush, and because the woods we've decided are difficult terrain, each inch that she would move in there counts as 2. So her second action of 4 inches, she can only actually move 2 through there. She's trying to hop over branches and not get snagged.
It's not a place for a mini skirt.
Yeah.
She rolled a 1 on her jump scare.
Oh, okay. Lunge. So the killer's disappeared into the shadows. Place the killer in base to base with the character and make an attack with number 2. The killer is already in base to base with the character or supporting character. We'd place a fright token in base to base with the character instead.
So he brushes past Denise, sees that his victim Pat has been found, and decides to double back. And hopefully take care of one of these situations.
Dinner time, there's a new scent on the wind. The wind shifted and he's caught scent of something new. Something. Dolce & Gabbana.
All right. What's his attack? Where are we going? His attack.
Darth Balls is back in the house.
Menacing.
So he's making an attack with number 2. This is not good for her. This is mutilated. This is gonna be a brutal thing. So he's gonna do
wild swings.
Oh yeah. So he's gonna do wild swings. Let me grab
So
that
he's
one.
gonna hit Seth.
So he dives in on her, but swinging wildly. And it's all characters, so it will be her as well because she hasn't been targeted by vicious blades. So it's all characters not targeted by vicious blades when 2 inches of a mutilated killer take 1 injury.
Just right out.
She's gonna take 1, and Seth. So he comes in swinging wildly, scratches, hind leg kicks.
So, and it should be noted, his first one, various blades, or vicious blades, does have a combat value of 15. So you'd roll a d20 to see if it lands. Most of the character's second abilities don't have a like combat, they just happen. So that's what happens. This just happens and both Seth and her take a wound. Also note, this is still in the character phase. So just because you get through the fright and killer phase doesn't mean something like this can't happen. With her movement through that brush, she rustled a few too many branches. And the beast of Northwood.
I'll be right back, Connor. 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's fine. All right, so that's the end of the character phase, though. Now we're on to round 6. We are back up to the fright phase. And like he was saying earlier, in the fright phase, after, let me just double check. In the fright phase, after so many turns, the fright tokens just go off automatically, which should be now. Yeah, turn 6, you always roll. So on turn 6, you always roll for fright tokens, so you don't see if they go off. There's only 1 on the board. It's right here in the middle. And we're going to roll that. Which section is A, Moya? Up here. A from my perspective. the next stream, I'm going to make this one A. I was a silly person who didn't think. I had more of like a top-down view this time, which I like better, but I didn't adjust my frame of reference for. We'll get there. Tune in Thursday, 6 o'clock, for another scenario. One that maybe we don't win like this, off of 2 very, very lucky rolls. So the first one is a 5. 5, pretty sure is just a movement. Yep, move the character 6, or move the fright token 6 inches from its close character. That is going to be Seth. Right there, right on Seth.
Right in that corner. Oh,
All
man.
Right. We just got through the fright phase.
Poor Seth.
Seth has a fright token right behind him.
And one of the things that I think it's worth mentioning while we're playing, especially if you've played a lot of miniature games in the past, base to base always kind of has this connotation of being like swirling melee. You know, it's representing characters all tangled up and fighting and until somebody dies. And in Don't Look Back, base to base is more of like that horror kind of intimate distance. The character is the killer is like in your face, but maybe not constantly attacking. You know, in there you can feel the breath, waiting for something to happen, and some of the attacks sort of work that way. Especially with there's like the familiar killer, when he's close and you've trusted him, he does things like unexpected backhand. So out of nowhere he strikes somebody. Some of them can do things like pull a revolver even if they're in base to base and shoot somebody nearby. So just kind of be thinking of that base to base as just that kind of invasive, close, intimate distance between the two models who are base to base, and not always just this like roiling melee, you know, that's going on constantly.
Yeah. So that's fright phase. Now we're back to the killer phase. So he's in base to base, so he's going to swing his first attack. His combat of 15. It is a 16. She's fine. But
so he's also adding 1 if she has terror points on her.
Okay, it's a 15. She's not fine. And she how many wounds is it?
For the blades?
Vicious blades.
Vicious blades. So that's going to be 3 injuries. Which is a lot. So all characters, so if you also notice when we kind of went through the stats, there isn't a wound value. So all humans in this, when they take 10 injuries, then they fall victim to the killer.
So she's at 4, and then he uses the second ability, Wild Swings, and we add 1 more to her and 1 to Seth.
So because she was targeted by
she does not
the display. So this sort of represents like the follow through. You know, if you want to think about the character having that axe, he swings into her, chops her good, and then the follow through hits somebody on the backswing.
It's like that chainsaw scene. It's just like
just whirling.
All right, so that's the killer phase. Onto the character phase. My win condition is just get Pat and 3 others out, right?
Yep, off of one of the A outer table edges. Yep, so you got to get them out of there.
So Alice is going to move 5. She's at the table edge. Pat is going to move the whole 8. Ranger Sandy is going to have to move 8 and roll.
And this is where, again, you as players get to determine how you want to play this plot. So we found Pat early on with some really lucky rolls, which is going to happen. So that leaves us quite a few turns left where you can either just choose to try and get your 3 people off of there. So maybe they're totally fine with leaving these people behind in the woods. Or if you wanted to, maybe Ranger Sandy would want to like come back. You know, she's like, go kids, you go. I got this. And she's going to head back in to try and take down the Beast of Northwood. So that could delay you. Maybe you don't get your 3 characters out right away. So you can create your own tension while playing and how you decide to make choices with those characters. So maybe they're just like, dude, they're done. Maybe Ranger Sandy's like, I've seen this happen before. We can't go back. It's too late. And they just bolt. So it's
I,
totally up to you.
I
And
think
each time you play, it's going to be different.
I think that's where I'm leaning right now, but Seth still has to get out.
Go!
So Seth is going to
Guys!
activate, get a terror point, because he is within that fright token. He is then going to move 4 inches. He also sees the killer, so he's going to gain another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So he's now, because his fright value is a 4, for each point over that he has, he's also -2 to action. So he's actually -4 to things like awareness, to combat. So he may actually, as much as we love Seth is life, at this point he's probably actually wet himself a little bit. He's not in a good place.
So he's going to move there, and then he's going to move... Oh wait, did I move him 4? I did. He only moves 3. Then he's going to move another 3. Oh, and the killer phase happens, so the lights flicked off again.
So as he's heading there, and he's like, the light! Oh, man.
Oh,
and he's going to make his
darn it.
trip roll with, what does he have, 6?
He does have... No, he has... Yeah, 6.
So on a 6 or
11.
less on a d20. Oh,
he's safe.
So he doesn't trip.
Sure-footed. Denise. Oh, you know what? Clutch play.
Uh-oh.
Clutch play. Daddy's phone. So I'm going to use Denise's ability right here. As a quick action, Denise may place a supporting character token in her board section on a roll of 9+. Here we go.
See what happens. So Seth's...
17.
Sorry. Denise is currently, nah, he's not Darth Maul. He'll totally pee his pants, but he'll own it.
It's cool to pee your pants. So she, in the midst of all this, has doubted her boyfriend's Holden. Holden is showing up within her table section.
Holden, if you are a man at all, you'll totally get out of here in the woods.
So he's showing up right here. At which point, with a supporting character, the killer will automatically target them. Now, do they move as soon as I place them?
No, it's just when the killer's turn happens and he's going to do his movement or his targeting. He's going to...
So in that case, she's still going to need to stumble back away from this killer. Or she can take a deep breath. Doesn't matter. I'll stumble back.
So when your character is in base to base with the killer, they can't just move away. They have to take an action called stumble back. So she back steps, tries to get away. She can move 2 inches directly away from the killer, and then she's going to make that awareness roll to see if she trips.
I rolled a 7. I needed a 13 or under, so I'm good. And you gain a point of terror for being within this fright token right here. And I also gain a point of terror because I'm staring into his dead eyes.
Oh, man.
And that is the end of turn 6. So now we are on turn 7.
Yep.
Back to the fright phase. It goes off automatically. And we roll for it. It is a 9.
So what we're going... Has the Beast of Northwood taken any injuries yet?
He has not, so he is enraged.
Yeah, because you don't. So what would happen is once the killer is activated, or is on the board, I should say, and you roll that fright token value of a 9-10, well, obviously the killer's already been placed. So what can happen is that you would roll a D10 D20 looking to roll under the killer's current wounds. So the more wounded they are, the more likely they are to slink off. What would happen is that we would remove the killer, and then he would come back out of the shadows in the rear arc of the most isolated character on the table and be lurking ready to kill them. If you don't roll under their wounds, or they don't have any yet, they just become enraged, and the killer's critical range for their attacks goes from a 1 to a 1 to 3. And we haven't seen it yet, but if a killer makes an attack roll of a natural 1, or in this case a natural 1 to 3 because he's enraged, that attack does double damage to the character. So with that vicious blade, it would become 6 on one swing, and characters only have 10 wounds.
So that little wound token I put just in represents his enraged form. You can only be enraged once. You can't be like.
But it will hang around until he makes an attack again.
It will. This also disappears, which means 1 shows up in B and 1 comes back into C.
Because there are no more fright tokens on the table.
That was the last fright token. And now,
if the killer is not conjured when you get to the last fright token, because I don't know if we said this earlier, it automatically flips and becomes the killer. So when you get down to 1, if it's not already on the table, boom.
And if the killer is on the table, you roll normally, and that's when what we just explained goes through. On a 9 or 10, you see if you've driven him off due to wounds. If he don't, or he doesn't have his wounds, he just becomes enraged. Becomes even more deadly.
And is there anybody right now looking at the Beast of Northwood? Is somebody's line of sight?
He is within Denise's line of sight.
Okay, so another thing that would happen is that if your killer, if it's out of sight of all of the player characters, and it's actually removed and then replaced again using the killer's MO. So for this case, his stalking MO, and that represents, like in the horror movies, when you round the bend from after running away, and then boom, there's the character in front of you where you think you're safe, and it just comes strolling right back out of the tree line.
That moment where he's chasing you down, you all stop, you look around, you look back, and he's gone, and you don't know where he's going to pop up next. Yeah, okay, so they're there. I'm not going to move them. Well, I can't. This is the killer phase now, right? Yeah, we're in the killer phase. So the killer phase is going to target the supporting character. The supporting character that Denise's special ability used, that I placed right here. Killer automatically targets him no matter what.
So Holden comes in, firing his shotgun in the air, gets the attention of the Beast of Northwood, comes tearing in.
6 inches in. And on a combat roll of 15 or less, is going to smack Holden for 6 damage, which will instantly kill him as a supporting character. It's an 18! Oof.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
He comes in, he swings, completely whiffs, just like right in a tree, right next to Holden's face. That was his enraged attack, so that tree might just fall down. Just kidding, that's not a part of the game, but it could be if you want it to. His second ability, since he wasn't hit by various blades, he hit by wild swing still.
But he was targeted by it. The specific wording is
targeted in the rules.
By it. Yeah.
It's like you wrote these rules or something. And that's it. That's the end of the killer phase, guys.
The other thing that's interesting about the supporting characters is they only have 3 wounds, and they can only take 3 terror points before they fall victim. So they really are kind of like a distraction, a speed bump. But they can, while they're on the board, they don't move. But if there are ever fright tokens near them, then they remove them. Characters that begin their activation close by are feeling a little bit more confident, and they can remove a terror. So they provide sort of like a safe zone, a buffer, in different ways. But if they die, so if the beast had killed our supporting character there, any player character that's in line of sight of that murder gains an additional point of terror.
Yeah.
As they watch somebody they know or somebody trying to be helpful get torn
Discover
apart.
Games question: does his line of sight keep the killer on the table? So if he had made it into base contact of him, say he only moved 2 or 3 inches, and they're just staring at each other.
So Discover Games, so we're using a model as the supporting character, but really the supporting character is a token. So it itself doesn't have a line of sight. It's just it's really the token that we're using one of our extra players.
And in the rules, it does state it is a supporting character token. And in the game, on the token sheet, there is a thing as a little person outlined that you use. It's really just to represent in these types of movies when that random character who doesn't really have anything to do with the plot or the random sheriff's deputy shows up, what's going on, you think is maybe a reprieve, and then the killer just axes him immediately, and it's just like, oh well, no, there's absolutely no hope now, sort of thing.
It's your bonus moment of murder.
Same with Pat. Pat is technically a token, and once you find Pat, you can just move the token. It's like not a character. There's no stats for Pat, and
it's just an effect, a thing.
Yeah, and with the supporting character, like you said, all supporting characters have 3 wounds, 3 terror. If any of those are met, they just instantly die. In this case, I am rolling so lucky on this game, so he does not get killed.
Yes.
He is still going to be engaged. And now
this is cool because you can see what the game's like with extreme rolls, which I think is important for people to see. You know, where you're not living in that Goldilocks zone of a game where you get to see how it plays perfectly. You're getting to see what happens when you discover things really early, when the killer's getting some bad rolls, and what's neat is that it's still creating, you know, those cinematic moments.
Yeah, because like Moya said, Moya hasn't found Pat alive. We haven't found Pat alive. We found Pat alive but injured a couple times, but we haven't found Pat just like, oh hey, I'm Pat, I'm alive. That hasn't happened. This is the first time it's happened in. I guess we've played it at least 9 times this specific, and then plus the playtesters. It's a very slim chance that you just find Pat alive right now, especially this early. All right, so character face. Seth is gonna move.
Yeah, okay, this in for sure.
6 inches.
Extreme rolls make for good stories.
And then Denise does not care about holding her boyfriend. Is going to move 8 inches and roll for her jump scare since she is near the area terrain. Also, all of these jump scares near area terrain is a completely optional roll. Treating terrain as difficult where it has your movement, and then also treating it as jump scares as maybe a killer's jumping out from behind the tree or something, you don't have to play those. We enjoy playing those because it has a cool cinematic thing, but it's totally an optional rule. The original game does not need that or does not list that as a core element. So,
and what it talks about in there too is that you can create, so by area terrain, sometimes a lot of games also will be like, do you have tree bases on there, Connor, like under them where it's like the you know, like the 3? So area terrain sometimes in games is defined by a base of terrain. We use area terrain in this a little bit looser so that you could create it however you want. So on the back side of the house here, Connor has, what did you call it, the dog pen?
Yeah, this is the dog yard.
This is where the dog yard, this is like maybe where Cujo hangs out. So you could call all that area inside of there area terrain, and that's spooky and scary. There are some tombstones floating around on the table. You could just count each one of those tombstones as, quote, area terrain. And when you go past them, there's something scary might happen.
Yeah.
You could do the whole table if you wanted to. You could say the whole thing is an ancient burial ground site, so the whole thing, anywhere you go on the table when you're done moving, counts as a jump scare. Something reaches up out of the ground for your ankle or digging itself out.
Or if you feel like, every time I move a character, I'm having a jump scare. Like this character that I made is very heavily populated. It's hard. There are paths I could take that I wouldn't have the jump scare, but it's very foresty. And you may say, oh, that's like a lot of rolling for jump scares. It's an optional rule just to spice up the cinematic feel. And the results, like we said earlier, when Denise moved through this and suddenly the killer popped up from behind a tree and axed her, you wouldn't have gotten that otherwise, but we think that's kind of a cool moment. You think, oh, we found Pat, everything's good, everything's safe, and Denise has lost half her health. So it's kind of fun having those things occur like that.
And if you're just looking to play a faster game, you know, you've only got lunch to play with some of your friends, strip out area terrain and difficult terrain, you know, and really just look at some of those other scenes with the killer.
All right, so they moved. We are back to fright token phase. Turn 8. And you guys can also see we found her very early, very lucky, and it's turn 8 of 14. One of our characters is 2 fear from dying to terror. One of our characters is halfway dead from wounds. Even in like a extremely lucky early on win scenario, we've taken some casualties. So
Yeah, and if you don't have Alice to hang out with her phone, you know that killer isn't really going to be changing
yeah,
his target. People are going to die.
dude, thanks for the follow. Is it Blargust? Well, is you the most recent one? No. Yes? No. Yeah. I don't know. Whoever followed, I can't read. Yeah, it is Blargust. Well, thanks for the follow, Blargust. Well, sorry about that. Okay, so fright tokens automatically go off. There's one over here in C, and one in board section B. It's a 9 for the one closest, which means it would become the killer. Since the character's already on the board, we would roll to see if we drive him off, but we haven't wounded him at all. So he becomes enraged.
He's mad he just missed that guy.
He yanks it out.
Gibson came out of that tree line shooting his shotgun in the air. The beast ran over there, whiffed, and now he's ticked.
He's even more enraged. And then we'll roll for the second one over in C. It is a 7, so it moves 6 inches towards the nearest character.
So maybe this is another one of these beasts of Northwood lurking in the shadows. It's like a pack. We just haven't seen this one yet.
It's a gang, it's a cult.
Hashtag The Ritual. If you haven't watched that yet on Netflix, everybody, that is a good film. It's got some Blair Witch going on.
Yeah, I may give that a view tonight, actually.
It's fun. It's got me thinking.
Oh, thanks, Bombad Watson. Thanks for sharing the link. We think it's a fun game. We believe you don't have to be really into tabletop games. It's a bit of a hybrid in between board and tabletop. And
yeah, this is a really fun place to live as a tabletop gamer and a board game gamer.
And it's nice too, even if you're not a gamer, but you're just a horror buff, because since it's built to be this cinematic thing, you can start pulling elements and narrating the story. We mentioned it a bit on our last stream, which you can find on YouTube, shameless plug. You can watch how we talk about there's an experience that you're helping create with people, with each other. And so even if you're not a gamer, even if you're just watching, even if you're just hanging out, when something like a character pops up from behind a tree, you can kind of join in and laugh about that moment, laugh about Denise's poor luck. It is now the character phase, though. Let me pull up this. Sorry, killer phase. Just got done the fright tokens. Killer phase. He's already in base to base. He is swinging a second time. It hits on a 13, does 6 damage. That supporting character is immediately taken out. No one's in line of sight, so no one has to gain an additional terror. And then no one is within the killer's second ability range. So that's awesome, Kirk. The end of the killer phase. Now we are in character phase for turn 8. All we got to do.
Thank you for helping hype this. It's fun having you here.
All we got to do. Denise to board table.
Hello.
A.
Welcome.
And then back over here. It's gonna be 6. All right, so they both need to see if they trip. Seth does not trip. Denise does not trip. Everyone is on this section of board section A. And that means that we have found Pat, suffered 0 fatalities, a few casualties, and have won and escaped the beast of Northwood.
Thanks, Blargs. That's awesome. I hope you really enjoy it. And what turn did we finish that on?
That was the end of turn 8. So we would have had
10 over turn 8.
5 more. But again, let's be clear, if you're just tuning in, we got very, 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 very lucky with 2 rolls. Someone that can actually do the math can tell me what it is. But I am quite surprised as what occurred there. we were hunting for our lost friend Pat, and typically you wouldn't find Pat until something like turn 9. But we got very lucky, found Pat, and we're out of there. I almost view this as like the backstory.
Moya coming in with 1 in 200.
1 in 200. Classic. Great. So that was the odds of us doing what we just did. You got
but
it
I'm
on
actually
stream?
really excited that happened
Yeah.
organically on stream for you guys to see, because even finishing it that quickly, there were still some awesome moments in there, some great story.
And I think too, for me, this is part of why there's more than one scenario in the book, is this feels like the backstory, like the time these 4 characters ran into the Beast of Northwood and they made it out, but they know he's out there. And then we could skip to the next scenario, which would be the escape. And you could, because it has a themes killer, yeah, but you could just use the Beast of Northwood killer. You
Sure
could
can.
make like a 5-part series where the Beast of Northwood is just routinely hunting your group of people. Every time you win, like this is a pretty easy victory. All right, we move to the next one. And maybe that's when the Beast of Northwood gets his revenge, part 2.
Hashtag The Ritual. If you haven't watched that, we're just talking about
you
that. But that
Are they paying you? Like,
no, but just like what's happening in this just feels a lot like the movie. If you were to link these together, trying to get through the woods here, and you were to use, especially the Beast of Northwood really has the same kind of feel.
Of the ritual.
Yeah, of the ritual. Then, you know, you can make all of your trees, your area terrain for spooky jump scares. If you've watched the movie, the trees fit in. Trying to make it out of the woods here, like it's all good. You could link these 5 together, and you'd have a version of the ritual going.
Yeah, Blargist. Is it Blargist or just probably Blargist? There is, in fact, Matt wrote. There's another 5. I think we said 5 last time. I think it's 5. There's another 5.
Yeah, can I drop
here.
any hints? Am I allowed to do that?
You could give it a little sneak preview. Maybe there's a character or 2 that you think would be fun to tell the archetype of.
So we have an individual of faith.
An individual of faith. Oh,
yep.
Yes.
So you can make him or her whatever denomination you want. There's some additional adults that are in there. So we have an individual of faith, and there's also a skate rat, who's one of my faves. Who's not in this, but exists. She rolls around on a skateboard. She's pretty sweet. I like her a lot. So there's just a couple little teasers, couple tidbits.
Yep. I'm gonna be honest. I completely forgot about the skate rat.
Yeah,
Anyways.
Cat. I'm just dropping her name too. It's Cat.
Okay.
Oh, I love her.
Now you're really.
He's gonna get out the stick. We're gonna be forced back under the stairs.
Oh man, you're really just giving it up. I think that wraps it up, guys. We're not going to do too much of a Q&A this time around. We will have a formal one later this week, and we will be streaming again this coming Thursday. We'll be streaming probably Trapped, which is...
I'm excited for you guys to see that. So that one has a little bit of a different twist on how the characters start on the table and what you're trying to do. So I think that one will be fun. But thank you so much for joining us again. And like Connor was just saying, we're planning on doing a time where we'll stream, and there probably won't be any, maybe not like a legit game going on per se, but just a chance to hang out and talk about the game if you guys have questions. You know, some people have asked a lot about kind of design elements for scenarios and characters, and can talk a little bit about how some of the characters have evolved and changed. So hopefully you guys will make it out for that, and we can talk shop, and I'll try to answer any questions that I can. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm gonna end with the trailer. You guys haven't seen it. We're gonna end with that. And if you haven't yet, give us a quick follow on Twitch. That way you'll know when we're going live. You can also check us out on our Instagram and Facebook. as well as our
There's
Discord.
also a Facebook page just for
Oh,
Don't Look
yes.
Back, and I've been loving that. So even if you don't have the game yet, and you're interested in talking horror and some design, and there's some things hiding in there, some drops, some secrets, some tidbits, come on over to Don't Look Back on Facebook, and we'll talk shop there too.
Yeah,
So
getting
thank
some exclusive content over there. All right, Matt, you will be heard, so shut your mouth.